him by saying that he has to fight or take an action when the path of knowledge is greater. By becoming a Sita Prajna, one achieves self-realization. Then why is he now asking Arjuna to fight? And he is totally confused and perplexed as what needs to be done. So he asks him, you tell me with certainty, what is the course of action that I have to perform? So from here starts the preaching of Lord Krishna on the Karma Yoga. So the first verse itself, he tells to Arjuna that there is a twofold path for your action. It's not just that you have to act, you also have to have the knowledge to contemplate on your action, or to do an intelligent action, you need knowledge. So that is provided by following the path of Jnana Yoga, where you listen to the things, you try to understand them and try to experiment with the things, then it becomes your experience and that you apply to your action. So it's a twofold path and you need both of them for performing your action. So you cannot say that you only take the path of Jnana Yoga or you only take the path of Karma Yoga. Even a Jnani at any point of time is acting all day along, including, like, if you take example of breathing is also an action. So there is no one in this world who is even a moment without acting. So you are bound to act. And then he starts his intellectual appeal for action. And he says that just by abstaining from your action, you are not going to attain perfection. So the actionlessness which Lord Krishna tells here is a different kind of actionlessness. It's not abstinence from action, but it is an action with which you will exhaust your current desire and you are not going to produce any new desire. The chronology of the action is you have inherent vasanas, and vasanas is the causal body or the source of our birth. We are born here because we had a bundle of vasanas from our past birth, and those vasanas are unmanifest, and we are here as human beings with the intellect to exhaust all the vasanas, with which we can unleash the divinity within us when all the vasanas are exhausted. So with the vasanas, we get a thought, and that thought produces a desire, and desire produces an action. So we act for any particular thing. In the course of action, how we do the action matters a lot. Whether you are performing it in the spirit of the materialistic world, or are you transforming your action as a spiritual action? If your action is only a materialistic action, it produces more and more desires. And those desires again goes back into your vasana bucket. So vasana is both a cause and also an effect. It is a cause of your past actions, and it is an effect for your present actions. So we need to be very mindful about performing our actions so that we don't produce more and more vasanas. So when you have a desire and when you take an action and that particular desire is satisfied and no more desires are added to your list, then it is a state of actionlessness. So actionlessness is not a state of abstinence from your action, but it is a state of action where you have exhausted the desire and have not added any list to the desire. It's same like going to a shopping mall or supermarket with a shopping list. So if you go to a supermarket with your shopping list, just finish off your shopping and come back, it is an actionlessness. You have bought whatever you wanted in your list. But if you go to a shopping mall, you see some more things which you really don't need, but because they might be on sale, or there's something that you find very attractive and you tend to include them in your shopping list. And when you come out, you might think that I'll come here to the shop again to buy this. So that is producing more desire. So that kind of thing, what will happen? It will again go back into your vasana, and again you have the thought that, oh, I saw this there was a sale, I have to go to that shopping mall again to buy. So you will start producing a new action because of your unwanted vasana that you created. If at all that desire was a desire that is checked by your intellect, that is, there is a sale, you really needed that item which is not in your shopping list, but when you saw it, yeah, that is a useful thing for you in the coming days or for whatever it could be, then it doesn't have to be an unwanted desire. It could be a desire which was needed. So we cannot say them as creating more vasanas, because they are also to serve a purpose, and your action of deciding to buy them is using your intellect and not using your mind. So he says in this verse that your actionlessness is not perfection. So what is perfection? Doing the action in the spirit of karma yoga, or turning an action into a spiritual action, is the state of creating the actionlessness. And he further says that not even a second a person can be without action. So why would we act? We all act because of our mental temperaments, of our sattva, rajas and tamas, which everyone is born to. We do not have a chance to be away from it from the time we are born, because it's the primordial nature. And then we looked at a verse where Lord Krishna gives a strong, powerful word as hypocrite. He says that if a person engages in action, or he restrains himself in action, but still lingers in his mind on the thought of action, such a person is called hypocrite. When he says hypocrite, he means that when you are not acting, or you are just suppressing your desire from physically acting, but mentally indulging in that thought, it will create you a lot of mental restlessness. That is what is the hypocrite that Lord Krishna is referring to here. And we also saw in the last class as how we not be hypocrite. We can follow the principle of Pratipaksha Bhavanam, which is the cognitive reappraisal we discussed. So we can always use that tool or a technique whenever we enter into the zone of getting negative emotions. He further says that when you control your senses by the mind, so your mind, you're not suppressing your desires, but intelligent regulation of your desires or your senses by your mind, and you engage in action, at that time you will not have any kind of mental agitation, and such a person excels. And we also saw that marshmallow test, which gave a bit of understanding about how self-control is, what is self-control, and how does it help us in our activities, and which gives more peace, because when you are having self-control, you will not have desires. Mind control is the best weapon, but it is very difficult for us to practice and get excellence in mind control. First step is sense control, which we try to do, and after the sense control, slowly we progress to the mind control. And he says to perform his obligatory actions, because action is superior than inaction. Arjuna's question was, why should I fight? His answer is, you have to fight because it is your duty. You cannot escape from performing your duty. There should not be any likes or dislikes that you attach to your duty. If it is your duty, you have to do it. You are ought to do it. And we also saw this verse of Yajna, where Lord Krishna brings into the chapter. Yajna is nothing but working in the spirit of service and sacrifice. We also saw that in the rituals, we all know that there will be a tough wall, the brick wall, where you will have the fire. And for the fire, you put some offering. And when you put some offering, you tend to please the fire god. And the fire god generally blesses us with whatever wish we had started the ritual for. So once this process is done, we will take the remnants of the ashes and place it on our forehead, and then finally step into the temple to finish the complete process. So this explanation, or this one, relates to our action in the general sense. And why they had given fire as special significance is, we know our body is made up of Panchabhutas. Among the 5 Panchabhutas, the first one is the space. From space comes the air. From air comes the fire. From fire comes water, and from water comes the earth. So the first element which we can see is the fire. So fire has a significance in terms of human perception, as that is the first Panchabhuta that we can see. And what is the significance of Yajna to our actions? The brick walled turf is considered to be the field of activity, whatever we are doing. And whatever we are offering, it could be ghee, it could be any kind of other offerings, they are nothing but our effort, the effort we put in to achieve our goals. And what happens when the fuel or the fire burns everything that you have offered? It shows that you have put your efforts to exhaust your desires. Your action is exhausting your desires. And when the flame shoots up, it is the fruits that you get from your action, the success and peace that you get from your action. And the remnant actions are nothing but the satisfaction in our work. Once we get success and peace, we feel satisfied. And the ash is applied on the forehead, which means that we have transcended the desires. So from the actionlessness, we take back to the desirelessness to the thoughtlessness, and thoughtlessness to the vasanalessness. So we have, when you become to the state of vasanalessness, we have transcended the desires. And why do we enter temple? Enter temple is nothing but to realize the divinity within us. When can we realize the divinity within us? When we exhaust all our vasanas. And we also took a very practical example of how the things work. Any country where the people had worked in the spirit of togetherness, with the spirit of selflessness, those countries are the countries which grew. It just not only the country grew, but the people grew along. So when you work in the spirit of selflessness, without leaving your egocentric goals aside, working for a common cause or a humanitarian cause, the country will grow in a bigger picture. The society, country, or family to whichever you're working will grow. In turn, you also grow. We also took the examples of the nature, the sun, the earth, and the plants, how they behave. They all behave without any selfish motives. The sun shines, and sun is the best karma yogi to emulate, because sun doesn't see who is out, who is not out, who is praising him, who is not praising him, who is scolding him. It just does its duty, or sun god does his duty because he is ought to do it. Similarly with the earth, similarly with the plants, it doesn't bloom because or expecting something from its blooming. Even a person take notice of its bloom, or a person doesn't take notice of its bloom, it blooms just because it has to bloom. So we are the only human beings in this universe who always go with our personal motives, and that's the reason we end up in stress. And that's the reason, again, we all need relaxation classes, stress management classes, and all kinds of classes relating to manage our mind and our emotions. So this was a recap of what we had seen in the chapter 3. So let's go ahead with the 10th verse. Saha yajna praja srishtva purovacha prajapatihi anena prasavishyadvam yeshavo swishta kamaduk. So Lord Krishna again says, Prajapati is the creator. The creator having in the beginning created the mankind together with Yajna, said, by this shall you propagate. Let this be the milch cow of your desired objects. So he is taking a stance here, and now here Lord Krishna becomes very emotional. He comes to a state and says that, see, the creator has created the mankind. And when he created the mankind, the yajna, or the quality of yajna, has been imbibed in each and every individual. And he imbibed it and said, by this you shall propagate, and this be the milch cow of your desired object. Milch cow is nothing but the mythological cow which sage Vasishta had. We call it as Kamadenu. So we know that cow has a power. Whatever you go and ask, it will give you the desired objects. The same kind of analogy he is bringing here with the quality of yajna. So when you do things with the quality of service and sacrifice, without any egocentric desires, then you will be able to succeed or get whatever you desire without any kind of mental agitations. So actions done in the spirit of yajna not only increase your productivity and prosperity, but it also helps to identify with higher goals and lowers the desires automatically, and it will diminish and fall off. So there are two benefits. One, when you do things in the spirit of yajna, you tend to increase your productivity and prosperity, because simple thing, you do without attaching to the results of action, and you also are selfless in doing the action. So you are not encouraging any kind of negative emotions in your mind when you are performing the action. So your mind is at calm, and when the mind is at a state of tranquility, your intellect performs at its best. So when your intellect performs at its best, you will be able to do your best. And that's the thing here, which increases your productivity and prosperity, because you perform at your best. And on the second hand, you will also identify with higher goals, in the sense that whenever you are hooked up to a goal, that's when your intellect will guide your mind. If you do not have any goals, it could be any small things. Goals need not be like a very big things. Even cooking can be a goal. Whenever you are doing, you hook your mind to that action and have a goal for that period of time, then gradually your mind will start not less and less distractions, and your intellect will be able to hold your mind. And here there is a quote from Swami Ramatirtha. He says that the way to gain anything is to lose it. It doesn't mean in a literal terms that you lose it to gain it, but it means that you want something, you wish something, don't be very restless about it, or don't be very much attached to it, that every moment you think, no, I want this now, I want this now. This is my personal experience. Whenever you enter into the zone of it could be for good or bad, both sides. Even good, when you really feel that you want, your chemistry of your body changes. It creates your high anxiety, it increases your anxiety levels, and also the expectation levels. You get more and more and more attached to the results. And if that doesn't happen for any reason, you will not be able to take that result from your action. So you do your best, don't be so much attached to it. Then whatever happens, you will be able to take it. And also at the time of action, when you are doing that, you will be able to perform better. Instead of like, it could be like getting marks, or it could be like progressing in any field of your work. Losing it, that's why, literally doesn't mean you lose the thing and try to get it. It just means that don't be over attached to the result of the action. If you are over attached to it, every moment in your mind until you get the result, the only thing that will be at the back of the mind is, I want this, I want this, or I want this thing to happen in this way. It produces more and more desires, and again you will be attached. So our desires are like bacteria, they multiply fast if they are unchecked. Thus, this is the only desire. Even in the end of the third chapter, we will see that what is the constant enemy that we have to fight with is the desire. That's why when we act in the spirit of yajna, when we act in the spirit of service and sacrifice, we would not need to get into this kind of diseases. And how the nature operates, the nature doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you deserve. So when there is a universal force that is prevailing above our wills, it is always better not to be very much attached to what we want. We can do our best and open up to the universe with surrender and accept whatever comes our way. You can ask me, why should I accept when I have put in my efforts? I wished certain things to happen certain way. Yeah, there is nothing wrong in asking that question, but the answer is, there are a lot of other parameters which determine your outcome. It's not just the effort that you put in. There could be, when you have other parameters which are not in your control, you cannot expect 100% of the result to happen in certain way. There is a certain kind of probability that happens, and we have to accept it. That's why they say karma has no menu. You get served what you deserve. So any questions in this verse? Yes, no? Okay. Devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantu vaha parasparam bhavayantaha shreyaf paramavapsyatha. So he's saying, nourish the gods with this, and may these gods nourish you. Nourishing one another, you shall attain the supreme good. So this is very much similar to what has been said in the previous verse, that the creator has given or imbibed all the individuals with the spirit of Yajna. This is also the same thing that he is emphasizing here. But only difference between that and this is, if you see the previous verse, he tells that verse in a direct tense or in a singular, saying that the creator has created, by this you shall propagate. So it's like Krishna is the creator and he is instructing Arjuna that this is how it happens, as if Krishna is the creator. So the emotional understanding or the contextual understanding is that after this verse, Arjuna gets perplexed or looks at Krishna in a way that, what is this, mister? You are telling as if you are the creator. You said creator created the mankind. He gave the yajna to everyone. The mankind has been born with yajna. That's all fine. The creator created and every one of us have yajna. But what is the next verse that you are saying? Or what is the next statement? By this you shall propagate and this be the milchkav. As if you are the creator, you are showing off here. So Krishna understands that he has gone very much high in his emotions and he has acted as if he is the creator there, even though he is the Brahman or the universal Lord. Here, Arjuna still doesn't know that. So he had that feeling of looking at Krishna as if that, what is happening to you? You are taking the role of a creator. Then he comes down and says that, okay, you nourish the gods with this, and may these gods nourish you back. And with this mutual nourishment, you attain the supreme good. So he is coming now and talking in terms of a third person. It's like you have you have a factory, and a factory owner wants to go and find out from the salespersons as what are the issues the salespeople are facing in their jobs. So the owner doesn't tell that he is the owner. He will walk in as a manager of the company, a personal manager of the company, and goes and talks to his sales team as what are the challenges they are facing. So one of the salesperson will come and start talking with him. And when the owner who is in the role of a manager asks him, what is that you want to perform, or what is that, or your problems? So the person says that, so these and these are the problems, and we had been with these problems for the past 2 years. I had been informing all the management about this, complaining continuously, but there is nothing that has been done. What is that you're going to do? Again, you're going to listen and go back. Then the owner, in the form of a manager, says, no, I will fix this. See, from tomorrow, you will not have this problem. Then that salesperson says, everyone was saying like that, what is so special about you that you will get this done? Because he doesn't know that person is an owner. He has the reaction. The same reaction happens now between Krishna and Arjuna. Arjuna being perplexed at what Krishna is saying, or rather confused or mocking at what he was saying. So he comes and says here, the thing to understand here is, he has said Devan. Devas are the gods. In Hindus, when we see, we have lots and lots of gods, like numerous gods, deities. And we think that each one has a specific character. And our Hindu sages, our spiritual scientists, were all very great, or very, very intelligent, in the sense they understood how our mind works havoc. So when they tried to understand how people were operating in this universe and how they are running behind each one of the actions, how are their actions being propagated with, and they found that it is the mind that is trying to propel outside to get whatever it sees without any control. That's when they had bought the concept of gods into picture. So gods here ideally refers to our ideals. So a person who is running at the back of money was given a god as Lakshmi and said, okay, you worship this god, you get money. As some people who wants bravery, they worship Anjaneya or Hanuman. A person who is looking for some other thing, or a person who wants success in his work at the start, will worship Ganesha. So each god represents a significance in terms of the goals or the ideals that we are trying to achieve. If you are want studies, we pray to goddess Saraswati. So these gods and goddesses are not separate kind of things that we understand, but they are all brought into picture by our Hindu sages so that we always stay focused to our goals by using that emotion of God, name of the God. So whenever we feel about the God, the chemistry of our body changes and we do it with more involvement. We do it with more. Even take the example of even fasting when it comes in the name of a God. Our total chemistry changes when you try to fast on a particular day, wishing that, oh, good things happens to me. So all the external things in this world that we do in the name of a God are finally to realize the divinity that is within us. So there is nothing wrong in taking this approach, because only we have to start at any point of time, and this is the approach that will ultimately lead you to the final state. The final state is only one, that is to understand that Aham Brahmasmi or Tattvamasi, whatever we call it, you are the divine being and you are one with the universe. You can take different routes. All the routes will finally lead you to a state of self-realization. So all these gods that Lord Krishna is saying here is nothing but you keep hooked on to your goals and ideals, and you nourish both, meaning you put your effort, do it in the spirit of service and sacrifice, and you get the result. And in this mutually nourishing way, you will attain the supreme good. Supreme good is nothing but your final state of self-realization. So devas means gods, which are ideals or goals. Here deva signifies the entire sphere of human activity, whatever field we are working in. Work done in the spirit of yajna becomes worship, and work done with worship takes us closer to our goals. So the way we work should be how best I can, should not be like how best I can use another person, but it could be how best I can serve other person. That is what is the spirit of yajna, working in the spirit of service and sacrifice. When we take the example of animals, they have no choice. They do go by instincts. For example, we have a bowl of food kept, and two dogs come very, very hungry. They look to the bowl of food that is kept. They will not think for each other because they do not have that intellectual, rational capability to think. Instead, the moment the dog sees the food, it just jumps on the plate without thinking anything, because its primary need is to go and satisfy its hunger. It cannot wait more. But the same thing happens between two human beings. Like there are two persons, both of them are equally hungry, but one is a 60 years old and one is a 20 years old. Still, we can choose. We can say, you go first, I'll wait, it's okay. That choice is the power that human beings have. None of the species in this world are endowed with this power of choice. And that power of choice is what makes us closer to understanding of our divine self. Let's continue. Ishtan bhogan hiyo devaha dasyante yajna bhavitaha taidattana pradayebhyaha yo bhungte stena eva saha. So he's continuing. Verily, the gods nourished by sacrifice will give you the desired enjoyments. He who enjoys what is given by them without having offered to them is indeed a thief. Stena is thief. So he's saying the same concept of yajna. So you had the sphere of activity, you put in your efforts, and you finally got your results. Once you got your results, or once you have tasted your success, what will you do? You start enjoying or you feel good and all. But a person, after he gets what the success is, doesn't or eats without offering. Here, what do we mean by eat is he enjoys without showing gratitude. Offering doesn't mean physically we offer something. Offering could be in all ways. The simplest way is to feel gratitude for whatever we have today, whatever we are being blessed with. Yeah, it could be that you could say, I only put efforts and it was me who succeeded. 100% agreed that it was you who did it. But to do this, all things has to work perfectly. And there is certain power above us that makes things work, or that gives us that conducive environment to work. So when we have got that conducive environment to work, the least thing that we have to do is to feel gratitude about that. Here again, that this refers to tamasic kind of people. If you see what is the mentality of tamasic people or temperament of tamasic people, they are very lethargic, they are very, very selfish, and they will not offer to the God before eating, in the sense like they are not having the sense of gratitude. And such a people are like thieves, because we saw that the actions that we perform are from our three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. And here he is saying that a person who enjoys without offering to the God who has given him, the result is a thief. So this is referred to the people who are operating with a tamasic mental status. So this is a quote by Horace Greeley. The darkest hour in any man's life is when he sits down to plan how to get money without earning it. So he is an American newspaper editor. Not only this, there are a lot of quotes you can see where this kind of preaching or this kind of attitude is bought, that whatever we get, whatever success we see, we should always resonate with, at least with the sense of gratitude. If you can give or do something else in return, that's well and good, but at least resonate with the sense of gratitude. That don't be egoistic, that everything is happening just because me. That meanness or that ego is what makes you far away from what your real nature is. So continuing, Yajnashishtashinas santaha muccante sarva kilbishaihi pujante te tvagam papaha ye pachantyatma karanat. The righteous who eat the remnants of sacrifice are freed from all sins, but those sinners who cook for their own sake eat sin. So in the previous verse, we saw that stena are referred to the people who are operating in more of tamasic mindset. Here he brings into picture the other two sets of mental temperaments with which actions are being performed. One is rajas and one is sattva. We know that rajas is born out of passion and desire. When we do things in the rajasic mode, we are attached to the results of action and we tend to be more selfish towards the actions. And we have seen that whatever sin is mentioned in this book throughout, sin refers to nothing but your mental restlessness. So when you perform actions in your rajasic mode, that is when your chemistry changes to anxiety. It could be worry, it could be certain trends of negative emotions. You will not have that calmness and peace of mind because you are in some mode of attachment to your action or the results of your action. So such people, that's what he gives here, who cook for their own sake, meaning who performs, who cooks for their own sake, in the sense you are not offering it to anyone before eating, and also you cook for your selfishness. The acts are performed in the mode of selfishness. So when you perform actions in the mode of selfishness, that's when you get a lot of mental agitations. You cannot be happy, you cannot be peaceful. But the righteous people who eat the remnants of sacrifice are freed from all the sins. Here again, when we say remnants of sacrifice, it means you have performed something in a selfless motive without any egocentric desires, and the result that you get, you show gratitude, you offer it, and then you have it then you will be freed from all sins, meaning you will not have any kind of mental agitations. You will have peace of mind. So the three sets of people he tried to bring about here by saying from the chronology that the creator has created everyone with Yajna, and Yajna is the spirit of service and sacrifice, the way we can transform our materialistic actions into the spiritual actions. Every one of us are having this, and when we perform in the spirit of Yajna, we reach the supreme good. And then he again comes back and says, if a person who performs actions, he again brings about the point of gods, like you work with mutual nourishment, and when you work for mutual nourishment, you will get what you want. And when you get what you want, what is the mindset that you show? That's what is this three sets of people. Okay, you got what you want. When you get what you want, have you shown gratitude to whatever you have got? If you have not shown gratitude to whatever you have got, you are actually a thief. But if you are still acting in the sense of you got what you wanted, but still what you did is just for yourself and not for anyone else. In the sense, it doesn't mean we do a lot of things for our sake, but the intention behind our action actually matters. So what is the intention when we are doing this? Is it a selfless action, or is it a action that is with selfish motive? For example, very simplest thing I'm saying is like, it could be taking bath, or it could be eating. What is the intention with which you are eating, with which you are doing something to your body? Is it just to look good in front of others, or in the spirit of having maintenance to the instrument, so that when this instrument is maintained properly, only with this instrument I can serve myself and also the others? This attitude is what makes a difference. So when you are working in the attitude of like, I have to be beautiful, that's why I'm like pampering my body, there is nothing wrong in it. But what happens when a pimple comes to your face? You feel restless. Oh, why did this happen? Why is this coming? I took this much care, but why is this coming? But if your intention was to work in the spirit of for the maintenance, you will, whenever you get into these kind of things, you still maintain this vehicle as it has to be maintained without mental restlessness or mental agitations. So that is the example that he has brought between the three kind of mental temperaments behind every action. Any questions? Or any sharings?
Abhi,
Yeah.
what is the difference between Rajas and Sattva? I mean, in this yajna, I mean, how do you differentiate these two? Tamas, I
Intentions behind
understood
action.
intentions
Yeah.
only.
See, same thing. See, the example I said, right? Rajasic is always driven with desire and passion. In the sense, like, I want this. It will be with I driven for you. Everything you want for yourself, or in a mode of enjoyment, acquisition for your own sake.
Then that is again okay. Tamas is not doing any action, still expecting. That is thief. Okay, got it. This is only for yourself. Okay, okay, got
yeah, this
it.
is on, you do it, but you do it with a lot of passion and lot of thing that I want to, like, it all in the I mode. You do it everything in the I mode. As I said, the example, which is a very common example, right? You take care of your body. What is the reason behind taking care of your body? If you take care with a thing of I, like, I want to look beautiful, or I want to be like this, I want to be praised by others with my looks. If that is the intention behind doing the action, then
that is Rajas.
You will have, that is Rajas. That will create Rajas will always create mental restlessness. But Rajas is an active state. So that's what we will learn at the end, that you have to be Rajasic to do, but your mental state while doing the action should be Sattvic. Your intention should be Sattvic.
Okay, here for Sattvic, the intention should be not you should look good, but you should be healthy.
whatever it could be. It is like healthy or to serve people. See, the basic thing that yajna is brought about is to act in the service of sacrifice. Human beings, if you say, they say that humans are born to serve others. Paropakarartam idam shariram. That is a very famous quote in Vedanta. When you say that, why is this shariram given to you? They say that para upakarartam idam shariram. This body is given for you to do, to help others. Para is others, upakara is helping or favor. So the basic thing that why we are having this body is to help others. So if you operate in that mode or thought, the way you do actions will totally change.
Okay, Abhi. Got it. Thank you.
So we'll go to the next two verses today. Annat bhavanti bhutani parjanyat anna sambhavaha yajnat bhavati parjanyaha yajnah karma samudbhavaha karma brahmodbhavam vidhi brahmakshara samudbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yajne pratishtitam. So these two are the verses where Lord Krishna brings a metaphorical explanation of relating our agriculture, rain, food to what goes back, and bringing the yajna concept in between, and how this relates back to Brahman, from where it comes and where does it go. So from food comes fourth beings, from rain food is produced, from yajna arises rain, and yajna is born of action. Know that action arises from Brahman and Brahma arises from imperishable. Therefore, all pervading Brahman ever rests in yajna. I will show the... So here the yajna is explained to the agricultural metaphor, and yajna is nothing but selfless dedicated activities. When he says the imperishable, it is the all-pervading Brahman, and from imperishable we have Brahma. Brahma is the creator. Here it's not Brahman, but this is Brahma, which is the creator. And from the creator, all actions are born. And even the yajna, here the yajna referring to is like generally taking the example that when you want rain, you normally perform offerings, and then with that yajna, generally the god of rain gives us rain. So when we get rain, what happens? The agricultural thing happens and we get food. And when we get food, the food is being fed to all the beings. And if you take the example of how does this relate to, Brahma is the root cause, or the creator is the root cause of actions. Without creator, no one of us can perform actions. Similarly, we have understood from the chronology that vasanas are the root cause for our actions. So it is similar to what Brahma is as a creator. For our internalization, when we think what is the creator of this human form, it is the causal body, which is vasanas. Because of vasanas, we will act. So when we say we have to perform yajna, what we have to do? We have to turn our actions into spiritual actions. So you work in the spirit of karma yoga, in the spirit of service and sacrifice, then your action becomes a yajna. And when your actions become yajna, you display the right attitude, which is that inner peace will be there, you will have peace of mind, and your intentions will be pure. What will that give to? Productivity. You will get to do your best. That is what is productivity or success. And that's like, if you see here, the chronology from the human beings, the life is being sustained. So this is the universal wheel of action, from where you are doing work because of vasanas, and finally to become one with this perishable, you have to come back and exhaust your vasanas and become one with the Brahman. So it is the same cycle which caused vasanas are the reason for your action. At the same time, your actions should be the cause for transcending the vasanas. That's why it's called as a universal wheel. This wheel will continue as long as we are having vasanas. So I like to conclude today with this verse. From the rest of this verse, we will see in the next class to explain a bit more in detail. So you understood this universal wheel of action? Why it is said as wheel? Because vasanas are the cause and the effect. So you are taking actions because of vasanas, and what will make you backtrack? Again, the same action. The action, when done in the spirit of yajna, will help you to transcend vasanas. And when you transcend vasanas, you become one with the imperishable, which is the Brahman.